can see my screen?
Shopify, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so it's over to me now. And I've been looking at this new connector that Microsoft provided between Business Central and Shopify. So the idea is that you can move your data that's in Business Central over to Shopify, or alternatively have Shopify data moved over to Business Central. It is only available on the latest version and only on the SaaS model, so people would have to be on the latest version of everything to be able to get this to work. So I thought I'd start almost at the end of the process, where we're going to see how the sales order process works. So I'm going to create an order in Shopify, go to Business Central, pull that in, process it as an ordinary order in Business Central once it's there, and then click a button to update Shopify to tell the customer that the order's being shipped. So let's do that. So I have created, or we have a, excuse me a second. We have a Bevica website that's connected to Bevica and Shopify. So the most noticeable things that are on the website are the products. So all this information you're seeing here is coming directly from Bevica. So if I click into a particular product, you'll see here we've got, let's do full details. We've got descriptions, pictures, duty status, unit of measure. So there, for example, I can change that to a bottle, and I'm going to order 2 bottles, and you'll notice the price has changed, and that's coming from a price group in Bevica. So let's add that one, for example. Then if I go back to my products, pick another product, let's do some Red Rock here, and this time I'm going to place a case. Now you'll notice also that we've got some text that's coming from Bevica. So those are extended texts inside Bevica, and it's bringing in this grid that are the attributes that I've associated in Bevica as well. So it's trying to connect some details from the ERP into Bevica. So let's add a case, add that to my cart, and then I'm going to go back to my products. Also, the data that's coming from Bevica can be used here to select and filter. So this information here is just the free setup on Shopify, but you can add extra apps to Shopify to make this a better experience for customers. But I can click on still white there, for example, and this is data. So I'll click on an expensive bottle of wine. I'm going to order add to cart. And then the last thing I just wanted to show here is that I can, if I go to products, you can also link in gift cards. So if I open up my gift card and say I want to also buy a £250 gift card, add that to the cart, and now I've ordered everything I want to. I go to the checkout. I'm going to use my Bevica email address. So this is standard Shopify. So everything after the information's been added to Shopify is all managed by Shopify itself. There's no Bevica involvement after that. So I put the address in. So continue. Standard delivery. I'm feeling generous. I'm going to add a 10% tip, and then enter some bogus credit card details. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my kind of shopping experience done. If I pay for that, oops, too many. 1, 2, 3. I'll try that again. So that's the order processed in Shopify. The customer will receive an email, a bit like this. So thank you for, there we go. So there's the gift card that the customer will have got because they paid for it, the confirmation, of the order that the customer just gets as standard. So that process is all done on Shopify once the data is there. If I now go into Bevica and go to my Shopify orders, these are orders that have previously been pulled in from Shopify. So we have a full audit in Bevica of specifically Shopify orders. And to pull in new orders, I go to Process, Sync Orders from Shopify. And what that does, it asks you for which shop you want to bring orders in for. We'll go into shops in a bit later on. And then I say OK. And that sets a job queue that's running in the background that I set manually in this case, that's going to find all the orders from Shopify. You would in the real world have this set to run every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it would just pick up orders as they're being processed. So while that's running in the background, if I look at an order I pulled in previously, so this is a Shopify order inside Bevica. It's not a real sales order, what I'm looking at here. These are the details from Shopify. So you'll see got details from the website. Down here, it's telling me that the customer ordered a case of that, a bottle of Screaming Eagle, there was a gift card, and there was a tip with all the details on the side. And this also tells me some kind of other information about how Shopify looks after its orders. So transactions will be the fact that it was paid for. So on an online shop, everything most of the time will be paid for in advance. But if you have customers on account or it's a point of sale, this could be a bit more complex where people are paying it in different tranches or with gift cards, for example, or in multiple credit cards.
We've had a question.
Yep.
If a customer changes the variant from duty paid to bond, does the price change?
Yes.
Okay.
There is an open question about whether Shopify will handle bonded orders properly. But yes, the variance, the customer can change the variance from duty paid to duty free if it's available on Shopify. So that was looking at Shopify order, but we haven't actually pulled in that new order yet. So if I refresh the page here, and in a second it'll appear, hopefully in a second.
Perils of a live demo.
Oh, cool. So this order here, if I open it up, should be the order we just created. If I scroll down, yep, there's my product with a gift card and the tip. And you'll notice that I've set it up to automatically create the sales order in Bevica. So it's pulled it in, it's checked that it's okay, and it's created the order. So from there, I can look at that sales order. And this is the real sales order now. So this would now fit into your standard process for shipping it, invoicing it. You'd do that as normal. So it would still be credit checked if it needed to. This one wouldn't because it's completely paid for. But if it was on account, it would be credit checked. It might be sent to the warehouse for delivery using warehouse integration, and then it would be invoiced as standard.
So I think that sort of maybe answers part of the question. Next question. So does Shopify only show available stock taken from Bevica, and how often is that refreshed? Okay,
that's something we'll look at in a bit, but you can send inventory quantities to Shopify, and you can set in Shopify from Bevica whether someone is allowed to over order from what's available or not. And the updating of inventory is on a batch routine. So we will look at that in a second. So at the moment, we have plenty of stock of everything. I haven't gone into the complications of out of stock on sales orders, but you'll notice down here that we have a line for the standard delivery, the tip, the gift card, and on the side here we have all the quantities and values that we'd expect. So once it has gone through the process, the standard process, we would, where's my post? So if I post the order, so in this case I'm going to ship an invoice, So again, like I said, this would just be the standard process with all other orders, potentially orders that are out that are not from Shopify. They're just all part of the list. You can filter them in and out, so you can see which ones are Shopify orders and which ones are orders from other processes. So that goes on during the day. If I go back to my Shopify orders.
Another question.
Yep.
Customer number on all the Shopify orders is the same. Does it need to work on one specific customer number, or can it work with existing multiple customer numbers?
I've set it up to just use a default, because in this environment, in this scenario, it's just they're just orders from online orders, but you can synchronize specific customers from Shopify to Business Central and vice versa, and you can get it to create a new customer if Shopify recognizes it as a new customer. So you can do both.
Thanks.
So one of the final steps of the sales order process is then to tell Shopify that the order has been shipped using Bevica terminology or fulfilled using Shopify terminology. And for that, I sync shipments to Shopify. So let me just pick that last one there. So that now is sending a notification to Shopify to say it's been shipped. And as part of that, the customer would have got an email saying that customer is now shipped. So that part is the Shopify just acknowledging that it's been fulfilled and sending the customer to say your order's on its way. And then the next time, from a Bevica point of view, that the orders are synced. So let me just do this one last time. The status on the order will be completely fulfilled and the order will be closed. So that means that from a Bevica point of view, we think we've done everything we need to do, and Shopify has done everything it needs to do, and the customer will get their stock. So that's the process. I think it's quite intuitive, quite neat and tidy, and it's quite fluid. And all the steps where I clicked something for it to be updated would naturally done by a job queue in the background. So orders every 10-15 minutes, and shipments maybe once or twice a day to send the information back to Shopify. Okay, so carrying on, extra bits of information. So I'm just going to show you quickly the setup you have to do in Shopify. Now, 3 weeks ago, I knew nothing about Shopify. So I'm sure there are people out there that know a lot more about how Shopify is set up, but I'm just going to go through the basics. So this is your Shopify admin portal. And once you've set up Shopify with your account and kind of your company details, you import the Dynamics 365 Business Central app. And this is really what does the communication between Shopify and Business Central. You then create your shops. So you can have multiple stores, point of sale or online. You add your themes, you add your apps, you make it look the way it needs to look and work the way it needs to work. Remember that Business Central Bevica is just putting information into Shopify. It's not actually managing what the customer does on Shopify itself. And then you can add additional apps that will do things like advanced searching, shipping, social media, but that's all managed in Shopify. So from here, I can see my products. So these are all, so the way I've set this up is I'm synchronizing products from Bevica to Shopify. So if I click into one, so these are pages in Shopify that you could manually update, but like I said, this is being updated automatically. So the title is the description from Bevica. That is text from Bevica. This bit here is attributes. If I scroll down, we've got the picture from the item card. Down here we have variants, units of measure. So here I deliberately deleted the duty-free variant, but you can have the duty-free variant coming in because that is a variant inside Bevica. And then when I scroll down, we have what the variants, the Shopify variants, where it has duty paid cases, duty paid bottles, the price that's coming from the price group, and the inventory quantity. Now that inventory quantity is downdated in Shopify when you do a sale, but it is refreshed from Business Central when you update inventory information. Okay. Let's go back here a second. So the setup in Business Central, you can have multiple shops. I've just set up one, which is an online shop, but you can have multiple shops. So if you have microsites for different types of product or aimed at different markets, you can have multiple shops. On the items, you can synchronize both ways. So you can start in Shopify, move them to Bevica and tag them in Bevica, or do it the other way around. You have item attributes, units of measure, variance, and inventory levels. Then on customers, you can have one generic customer if it's just an online customer with its own dimension of Shopify, for example, or you can have multiple and those can be synchronized either way. And then the orders is what we've just been through, where they create the order in Shopify. Shopify takes charge of taking the money, etc., sends it to Business Central, where we do the shipping, and then we send the information back. So let me show you some of those features. So if I go into Bevica now, let's go here. So if I go to my role center, if I start with my Shopify shops, so this is where you would specify one or more shops that have to link into your Shopify shop. So that is there is the unique URL for your Shopify shop. So if I edit that, we get into basically the setup. So this is how you want the integration to work. So probably the first thing just to point out is that in BC or Bevica, we would link a shop to a location. So that's how we know that my Shopify location in Bevica is holding my inventory that I want to then send over to Shopify. So I'll pick out some of the tick boxes and the options you have here. So it has a code. That there is the unique reference. Allow data to sync to Shopify, so that kind of gives it the authority to send information. So from an item point of view, this here is which way you want products to go. If they go from BC to Shopify, it will create them as new products in Shopify. If you're bringing them from Shopify to Bevica, it puts them into a staging area, and then you tell Bevica that the Shopify product A relates to a particular product in Bevica. So you have control over which product is related to which product.
And can you use multiple locations?
Multiple locations, yes, you can. You can have multiple locations against one Shopify shop, or you can have multiple shops, and each of those can have their own location. Yeah. So some of the other options here, Shopify can update items, can update Shopify products, retail price group and discount group. So this is where I said that it's actually going to a specific price group and telling Shopify what the products cost. You can decide whether you want synchronized images, extended text attributes, and how you want variants to be managed. And then this one here determines whether on Shopify you're allowed to oversell from inventory or not. So I had it where if inventory was 0 on Shopify, you'd get an out of stock message and you wouldn't be able to order it. But if you set this to continue, the customer would be able to continually just order as much as they wanted.
I've got another question. Do you have to have a Shopify location? So could you keep one, e.g. LCB, and sell via 2 channels?
You can. There might be a bit of an issue with inventory if you're selling from one Bevica location from Shopify and ordinary orders. But that we'd have to look at that in the detail. But the answer is yes, you can do.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's item setup. And then on customer setup, same sort of idea. You can create customers directly from Shopify when the orders come in, or you can get it to synchronize all customers you already have in Shopify and create them. And then for that, you would have a customer template that would tell Bevica how to create those customers. In this example here, I've just used a default customer for everything that's coming in. And over here, you specify how you want the system to recognize what a new customer is. Scrolling down to the bottom, on order processing, I have some default accounts for things like shipping, gift cards, and tips, because those all come in and get charged directly into the GL. And then this one here, auto create sales orders, I had that switched on so that when I imported that order from Shopify, it automatically just created the order rather than it to be an extra step, which some people might want to do.
And my question is, each new SKU or product created on Bevica treated as a new SKU, or do vintages roll over and update Shopify, i.e. not creating a new product on Shopify?
They'll all be created as new products. So an item in BC will be a new item in Shopify, unless you switch that synchronization off and you manually then map the new product to an existing Shopify product, which you can do. Okay, so that's the shop card. So that's, if you like, the primary setup. And then if I come back a second to my role center, if I go to Shopify products, so this is where I can see the link between my Bevica items and my Shopify products. So what I would have done at the very beginning, because I'm using the Bevica items to create the Shopify products, I would have synchronized all the products, and it would have created a line here for all the Bevica items that I filtered in. So I didn't do everything, I just did a subset of my products with each of their variants down here. So as I scroll down, you'll see that the variants at the bottom change, and we have the details that we're sending over to Shopify. So the fact that it's duty-free or duty-paid, the unit of measure, the code itself. You can also here attach tags to your items. So these are manually entered. They're not anywhere else in Bevica, but these then become tags inside Shopify that users can search and filter on the products. And then from here, synchronize. So you have a couple of options in terms of synchronizing. You can do the full products, you can send the prices, you can send images and inventory. So I think the reason they've split that out is so that you're not bombarding Shopify all the time with all the information. You can be selective about what goes across. And again, you can set these on job queues to run once a day, once a week, however often, for example, you might change pricing.
Is it easy to remove a product from Shopify?
Yes, you can. If you delete it from here, which is the staging table inside Bevica, there's a setting that sets it as inactive in Shopify. So yes, you can manage it from Shopify. I think the idea of the synchronization, especially with the items, is that it does the synchronization up to a certain level. So if you like the core information, after that, I still think you'd need to go into Shopify and refine the information that's held in Shopify, or manage things that extra kind of degree of accuracy, if you like. But it's extremely good starting point. Products, customers. So on my Shopify customers, you'll see here that it has created quite a few. We were testing this internally. So it has created, I switched on the settings slightly differently, and it has created specific customers for T-Vision staff as we were creating orders earlier this week.
Just had a comment saying, well done on learning all of this in 3 weeks. So what's going to happen in the next 3?
Yes, it's been quite a steep learning curve to learn Shopify and then how the integration all works. Okay, let's go back. So that's kind of an overview of how it looks. I'm sure if people have more questions, I'm happy to take emails or give me a ring and we can look at it in more detail. But just my kind of thoughts on the integration. The fact it can handle multiple shops, I think, is really good. The order processing, I think, is very, very strong. It seemed like a very natural process. And once you set the job queues up, it would just run naturally in the background. It can manage gift cards, the tips very well, very nicely. The item synchronization, as I said before, I think is basic, but it does the job, kind of the grunt work, if you like, of setting all the products up in either system. But I do think that after that, there is still enhancements that people would have to, especially if you have apps or bespoke work in Shopify. The integration with Business Central isn't going to know about that, so that'll have to be something that you work on independently in Shopify, but the basics are there. So far in my testing, I've only really concentrated on kind of the retail or the consumer side of processing orders. I haven't tested duty-free. So for example, I know the pricing, I can set prices at duty-free, but I haven't looked at things like delivery addresses and how orders might be processed if they're duty-free. Items, basic synchronization, like I said, enhanced information you have to set up on Shopify. And then stock is an interesting one. The synchronization is via a batch, so a job queue. So every 10 minutes, every hour, 2 hours, you would synchronize the inventory levels. So that does leave a question that if you're using a location in Bevica, let's say LCB, where you're fulfilling Shopify orders out of that location, and you're also using that location to fulfill, let's say, just general restaurant orders, you have two sources taken from that same stock. So there is a potential there for timing issues. I'd need to do a bit more investigation to see if we can improve that. Or
we've had another question asking, can you automate the tags that get created? So the producer, region, sub-region, entrepreneur, campaign, etc. Or is that tag creation only manual?
Okay, you have two ways of setting attributes or tags. If I just go back to, if I go to items quickly, I'll show you. So the attributes that appeared in the description part of Shopify will be what are called attributes in BC. So attributes. They are these things here. So this information here is sent over to Shopify as part of the description. Now, a Bevica enhancement would probably be to take the marketing information on the item card and create them as item attributes if people wanted that. But the tags that you mentioned, if I go back to Shopify and products, these tags here, as standard, are manually entered. So I think what I have to do is go to a tag and say, oops, there you go. So that is manually entered. Again, an enhancement we could make to Bevica is potentially create the tag from the item card or from some information on the item card. But at the moment, it's a manual process. Okay. So let me just go to my thoughts. So the synchronization was the last bit I was talking about. And then the last bit here is that at the moment, we don't have any significant ability to change the core connection between Business Central and Shopify. We can do things around the edges, but they haven't given us the ability to change the actual connection. I suspect over the next 6 months or so, we will be given that ability, but I think probably they want the system to be stable and people around the world using it without any issues, and then they're going to open it up to the likes of us to be able to make changes to it. Any other?
No, not at the moment.
Nothing else has come through?
No.
Okay, so that was the Shopify bit. Hope you found it interesting. If anyone has any other questions or wants to go through it with me, just let me know and we can arrange something. So in terms